shift a little bit to Evan. You talked about how you sort of chart sort of all the movement that goes on in the industry. Let's talk about consolidation, shifting ownership, and Wall Street, media stocks, and online TV influence, all of that. Would love to get your input to what you think where the industry is headed with all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I guess we're about to see again. So, Paramount's about to sell to somebody. Disco Brothers will probably sell within the year. And a lot of the smaller ones and bigger ones, I think, have an M&A in their on their horizon, even the big ones. I think that's primarily for the reasons I described before, which is if you had to run a cable channel outside a bundle in the last era of television, you would have died because there was no way to make the economics work without the dual revenue stream, without the protective shell of the pay TV bundle, but also the triple play bundle.
I think that's my coffee mug collection, Evan. All the networks that
all
did
the networks. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Now look at all the streamers who will die for the same exact reason. If they're Netflix, because of first mover advantage, and almost exclusively because of first mover advantage, they have less issues. They are profitable. They have way less of a churn problem. They don't even really yet have a churn problem, but they are having an issue moving people over to the ad tier because they've trained people to watch Netflix without ads. Mm-hmm. But, and plus they're about to run out of new subscribers who are transferring over from, sharing passwords. So in 36 months, when you look at standalone apps like Netflix, like Disney, like Paramount Plus, like Max, it's really, I don't see how they stand alone and make it all work between churn and, frankly, their lack of competitive advantage in advertising over Google, Meta, and Amazon, who generate 60% of all ads on Earth, those three. So how's Paramount Plus going to compete with that? How's Pluto compete with that? How's Tubi compete with that? So I think most of the M&A is going to be the new triple playing of the media ecosystem, where you get a new iPhone and suddenly you're getting Max and, Apple Music and news and cloud service, where you subscribe to whatever Microsoft's bundle becomes and you get Paramount Plus and it becomes much more of a bundled experience. Or you're going to look at things like T-Mobile's bundling of Max and Netflix with mobile service, which is a churn killer in a good way, right? Mm-hmm. So I think whether through M&A, I think most of the M&A will ultimately be towards that destination, combining big tech and their flywheel, where they don't necessarily need to make a profit off of the video that they're providing. Amazon, there is no way that Prime is profitable, right? We're not even sure whether YouTube is profitable, right?
Right.
So, I just think that's going to drive most of the M&A, or it should, if you're smart. Because Comcast and Disco Brothers merging makes no sense. Paramount and Comcast merging makes no sense. It's just TV and TV, and you can't find enough economies of scale while growing revenues to make that thing work. Look at Disco Brothers, which has lost 60% of its value since it merged. That didn't work, and it didn't work dramatically. And as many efficiencies as they try to find, it's never gonna work. It's never gonna work. So they're going to have to figure something else out, and getting back inside that protective shell that the triple play offered in some other flywheel or through partnerships. If Max, the New York Times, and Peloton decided to create a bundle, I might never break up with it. So really inventing, Paramount Plus and Walmart have a really good subscription bundle. It works really, really well. It's great at acquisitions and it lowers churn. So look for more of that to happen both inside M&A and as the reason for M&A.
Okay. I think it's worth following up on something too. A couple things, observations, Evan, that you've teed up. One is in the examples you're providing, of course, the master is the technology platform, Microsoft. Amazon, T-Mobile. It's not the content. That's one thing. And that harkens back to me to the earliest cable days, where it really was a technology. You were selling the cable, which was, if you lived in what they used to call a D county, remember, in Wyoming or Wisconsin or any of these places, you were trying to import the closest broadcast signal, mostly so you could watch an NFL game. So if you lived in Casper, Wyoming, and Denver was the closest NBC affiliate, the guys in Casper had figured out how to put up a big antenna, CATV, and be able to watch the Bronco game. I mean, that was a technology play, if you want to call it that. The other thing, just anecdotally, I'll share with no names attached, which is one of those paradigm shifts I experienced about 10 years ago. I was having a meeting at Amazon Prime, and they weren't quite where they are today, honestly, in sort of their content expansion and evolution. However, they were beginning to think about it. And I went over there for a meeting, and a lot of things I observed, which I'll leave out of this, but the biggest one, the takeaway was I sort of sat there and I said, I'm not sure I could even be in this environment. I don't see this as actually a business that's being run. And I'm just talking about the content side of as a business. It feels a little bit like no one's making any money. I mean, it's just kind of this, what would you call this? And I'm looking at the couple of guys I was sitting with, and I said, a lost leader. You're sort of developing a lost leader. And there was just dead silence in the room. And then the most senior guy said, well, Bridget, of course, you're zeroing in on a point that we would never really express outside of here, but you're right. The management above us is focused on the width of the corrugated cardboard. And I just thought, and I mean, this was 10 years ago. So it was not even where Amazon is today. And, look, I had grown up inside General Electric. Let's be clear. I mean, they were my parent for most of my career at NBC Universal. So I got the dynamic of having a parent who was focused on big worldwide manufacturing and many other issues. But to hear about that width of the corrugated cardboard comment was one that I thought, yeah, so why would you actually put yourself in the lost leader job? You're really the lost leader, like DVDs used to be for a film studio like Universal, sitting out in these big bins in what they called the big brick and mortar stores of Walmart and Costco. It was the lost leader to get people in the store. So I just think those two observations on what Evan has teed up is so interesting.